of Chesed. The Meshech Chochmah talks about why is it that Avram Avinu was zoche to hear about Sodom. If Hashem decided that Sodom and Gomorrah were going to be destroyed, why did he tell Avram? So Meshech Chochmah says, Avraham was a Baal Chesed. What does this mean to be a Baal Chesed? And Avram shows this in two different ways. A Baal Chesed is someone who essentially looks for a need in this world and says that he knows the world can do a better job. He knows that people can rise to the challenge. Avraham, if you think about it, Avram discovers Yiddishkeit, and what does he do? He runs a hostel, right? He sits there, and as people are coming in from the desert, he leads them in, he leads them out. He didn't come and give fiery speeches. He didn't give Lamdish Torah. He ran a hostel. Avram being a Ish Chesed means that he saw that if he showed a little kindness in this world, a little charity in this world, a little helping hand in this world, he realized that he could be more mashpia than any Devar Torah, than any Baal Musaf, than anyone who's Osik B'Torah. Being just a Baal Chesed, a person who cares, is the Maila of Avram Avinu. These two gentlemen over here are Baalei Chesed, are Bnei Avram Avinu in their own way. And they're going to explain a little bit of themselves, their journey, and how they saw the need, what was missing in the world that screamed out to them and said, I'm going to fill this need. I know that the world could rise to the challenge. So please pay your undivided attention, and then we'll have questions afterwards. Who wants to go first?
Go for it.
All right.
Yeah.
About 20 minutes or so each.
Thank you very much. Very honored to be here in front of Yeshivat Har Etzion. And the introduction is forcing me to go deep into my own journey that truly began, as Rabbi Yaakov just said so wisely, and after spending such a beautiful Shabbat with all of you, to the aspect of Chesed, the kindness, the just one Chesed we're going to hear about in a moment from Rabbi Aharon, from Yosef Aharon, and yes, just one. So what happened was, growing up in London, this is where I'm from originally, I had the merit to not know as much as you wonderful neshamas grew up with, beautiful souls, united souls. You were blessed with a Yiddish chinuch, with a yeshiva chinuch, however you want to describe it, a Jewish education, and I myself was not. And that, obviously, looking the way I do now, it's been a journey. So that says, in some ways, more than words. But it's not just a costume, it's not just an outfit, it's a journey. And the journey was with kindness, very much like Avram Avinu. I truly and sincerely believe that he is the Rebbe for our generation. And the example, I was in a taxi in Eretz Yisrael, and someone asked me, what Hasidus are you? And I told my story, I'll get to it in a moment. I said to him, what Hasidus are you? Because he was saying he had a look of a Chassid somewhat. He said, I'm a Chassid of the Ur Kasdim Rebbe. Ur Kasdim? For a minute I wasn't, holding by the Pasha or whatever it was. I was like trying to think, which Chassidus Ur Kasdim? And then after a moment he said, come on. I said, Avram Avinu. He said, we're all Chassidim of Avram Avinu. So with that in mind, being in London and not having this wonderful education you had, I had to go on a journey to discover my heritage. And it was really key moments that made the difference, especially with the fact that there were people even in England and London, you wouldn't believe it, but they were doing chesed, obviously. That was just a bit of a joke, but yes, they were doing chesed, and thank God it was a special opportunity for me to join with those people in that time, and to understand that, for example, the Chabad path, that very much with the concept of being on campus and opening the home on Shabbat. Obviously, when I went to university, wandering into the local Chabad house, and that really was the key. But to understand how far I was and how much of a miracle it was that I was involved with this, you'd have to understand my own journey personally, that I grew up in the entertainment world. I grew up with the biggest events on earth. I was just in an article now that just went live in the, if you heard of the Jewish News. It's a big newspaper. It's in competition with the Jewish Chronicle, which is the other big newspaper. And I was in that article, and it was talking about unity, about how my uncle, for example, put on the biggest event that ever happened in history, and maybe even till now, I would say it could be one of the biggest events ever in history. And what made it so special was that it brought unity amongst the world, and the charity, the chesed that it created to be able to help hungry people in Africa in that time in 1985. There was a tremendous hunger there. And seeing that experience planted something in my soul, my Jewish neshama, that made me think that there must be a way to do this once I understood about my own heritage for our people, to be able to create a unity event, especially that doesn't just come from war like we're going through now, that doesn't just come from pain, but comes from the fact that we are truly united and the truth of our people. And that was the drive again and again, that quest for unity. That's what was deep inside my soul. Example, I went to a Sunday school where one of the only psukim I learned was Hinem Atul B'naim, Shevetachim Gam Yachad. I'm sure that's something it's just part of most people's Jewish chinuch. But for me, it was a chiddush. I had one pasuk, literally, maybe the Shema as well, maybe David Melech Yisrael Chai V'Kayam, tonight's Malav Malka. And that experience of knowing that concept of unity and a song, that was enough of a seed. And this is important for all of you to know, for your own journey, that if you plant seeds in other people, you don't know where it can go. Just from that one song, that Hinem Atul B'naim Shevetachim Yachad, I was singing it with such intensity one time, running along the beach in Brighton, that I went into sort of a zone. I spoke about it once in Shirat David, and people appreciated it. We even sang it in the Musaf. The Chazan got the point and brought it into the Musaf of Shirat David, just like our wonderful Chazan did today when he sang his beautiful songs. And it was very moving because back then, it meant so much to me that one day I would be in a place in Eretz Yisrael where we'd be surrounded by light and we'd be surrounded by all the people we love and care about. And I knew I had to be in Eretz Yisrael. I knew I had to go ahead in my life. I had to come home. And you have to understand, I was lacking so much education. I could give you examples, but you can picture a secular, traditional North London Jew in some ways who just didn't have the foundation of Talmud. I didn't even know what the Talmud was. I didn't even know Gemara. Thank God, I think I'm on a third cycle now of Shas, Baruch Hashem. But this, I'm not saying it for any pride, just to show the journey. And the point is that I couldn't even really read Aleph Beis, honestly, even by that point, 18, 19, when I was at university in Brighton. I was running along that beach and I was singing that song and I knew I had to be here. And that song, Hinem Atul B'naim, it stayed with me. And how wonderful and pleasant it would be if we had unity. But I still needed some clarifications. What were the clarifications? I lived in an apartment with, in my opinion, I made a joke today and the host got it, but it's true. One of them was Esav and the other one was Yishmael. The first 6 months of Esav and the second 6 months of Yishmael. I had to literally live with the epitome of what we are not to get clear. One, when I started learning, like Masechtas Avodah Zarah, and you see the difference between Am Yisrael and between Bnei Yishmael and Bnei Esav, how they wouldn't take the Torah. Why Bnei Esav? Why Bnei Yishmael? You know, you're Talmid Chachamim. I'm impressed by you guys. I see. Who has the answer? Why wouldn't Bnei Esav take the Torah?
Your uncle is Mark Geldof?
Bob Geldof and Harvey Goldsmith.
Wow.
They did it together. So
that's all I wanted to say.
That's all good. But that was not Bnei Esav. Maybe Bob was, but yeah, maybe. Probably not. He's a nice guy. What's Bnei Esau? Why wouldn't they take the Torah? What did they want to do? Kill. What was Yishmael? Why wouldn't they take the Torah? Steal. They wanted to steal. So I experienced that in the university with these guys. Literally, I think my I hope he's not listening. There's a chance of that. I mean, if he was, that means he's done some tshuva. But the point was, back then, the idea of Bnei Esau, he was a drug dealer. He had a very negative energy with everything he did. And Bnei Yishmael, even though he wore a suit and he wanted to be, a lawyer, but he was, like it says in the Torah, Per Adam. Literally, he had a whole cupboard. What did he bring? I had my books and my CDs. He had, like we have Aaron Kodesh, he had weapons. All different kinds of weapons. He was a kung fu expert. He had an air rifle, which he actually used a few times from the window. Like, as classy as he made himself out in his clothing, but he was a Per Adam. And that was, for me, a very big clarification, even at that time, even though I wanted unity, but I felt there was something off about the unity with these kind of people that were so violent in their essence. And even the fact that they lied to me and they said that it was a Kedesh Yishmael. And things like this again and again. It wasn't a Kedesh Yitzhak. They have their own, the sheker, the lies, their religion or their hashkafa, their way of life. It helped clarify more and more what I am. So when I came to yeshiva and I started learning what I am, when I'd already experienced so much in that short time of my life, it made such sense. It came together with the Torah that I'm learning, that this is real. Now, just to round off, I just want to keep time conscious, that once I was in Eretz Yisrael and learning in yeshiva like you wonderful guys, and Talmidim of a beautiful yeshiva from what I'm gathering, being around the Talmidim and the Peiros from the yeshiva, that the key was in yeshiva, that it was about keeping the rules of the yeshiva. Obviously, that was an important point. But what I did, what was slightly different, and each of you in your own way, and we're going to hear about this from Yosef Aharon, is I tried to contribute to the yeshiva. Not just be a passive participant of the learning, but being that I'd seen, as I said, family who'd done, and our friend here knows, they did huge events, like global events. And that was in my essence. So I'm going to have to do something like that in yeshiva, and I did. I had a kumzeh every week, and we invited different guest musicians, and that became my path throughout, and I'm still connected with a lot of musicians and singers, and I still work in that world till now, in the Jewish sense. And my hope, my dream is it's going to tie into Rabbi Yosef Aharon, because how does someone dressed like this from Yerushalayim, living in almost next to Mir Sharim, by Rochav Gamul, it's right next to Mir Yeshiva, and I was working by Rav Shalom Arush, and this whole world, and a chassid of the Tolner Rebbe. How did I get to Frat? And I've been here now a year. This is our year anniversary, or maybe in a week or so.
Hi, sir.
Yeah, we came. Noach was the Teva, the moving truck, and then Lech Lecha was the first Shabbos start. I was already away at that point. I was by Rav Arush. But so the first Shabbos I wasn't even here. But the point was that I wouldn't have got here if it wasn't for Yosef Aharon's chesed. This is how it ties in. It's perfect that he's speaking in a moment, because Yosef Aharon hosted us in his home, my whole family, even during Corona, where most people were very concerned about all the rules. Thank God Yosef Aharon has his unique outlook and was not concerned at all, and I'm sure he doesn't mind saying it. Is that true?
No, it was the flu.
Yeah. So that wouldn't be so accepted by all, but Yosef Aharon is a confident chap, as we say in English. So he invited us, and even though there was concern, there was no concern by him, and we had the most beautiful Shabbos during that time period. We came 3 Shabbos over a year, and seeing the community. And that time the shul was still, you wouldn't have been able to fit in. I don't know how we would have had a Shabbos together. Maybe you came, I don't know.
It was at the high school.
The previous years, it was in a high school. I don't know how they used to fit so many boys inside the Shabbos. It just wouldn't have happened. So none of you would have gained from being there. I gained because I moved literally the time they opened up this base midrash on the shul upstairs a year ago. I was here. I literally felt like Hashem prepared this whole community to be at such a point where they have a beautiful shul, beautiful svarim. And guess what? I'm not working as much now in Yerushalayim. And now they have a Machon as well with Rabbi Yaakov. And I get to learn with people like Rabbi Yaakov every day, see them in the shul. And it's all been prepared so that my journey with chesed, with kindness like Rabbi Yosef Aharon did, could prepare me to come in. And the next amazing thing is, as Hashgacha Pratis, because this is a very important point, divine providence. Everyone here should look for the flow. Nothing happens whatever. Even my year in university, even my time growing up secular, everything was divine providence. Everything I experienced was exactly what I needed to experience for my journey, for me to do my tafkid, to do my purpose in this world. And being here in this beautiful community in Efrat, the Hashgacha Pratis is that Yosef Aharon is very heavily involved with an organization we're going to hear about in a moment, Just One Chesed. And now they want a unity song. They want me to do a unity song with all the different artists that you all enjoy, including our wonderful Rav Shlomo, yes, Rav Shlomo Katz, and other people like that. Like, we won't get into names until it's all clarified, but the point is coming attractions. The idea is that we have the opportunity to connect to an experience musically that will unify us around Chesed. And this is amazing timing that we're formulating this during the Parshas of Avraham Avinu. Usually this time of year, I'm traveling and I'm North America and I'm doing Avraham Avinu's work and Sarah Mena's work through reaching out to people in the world in person.
That's how we met.
Which is how we met. But now Hashem's decided that we're going to do this from Eretz Yisrael. Kim Etzion Teitzei Torah Devai Mishalayim, which is even better in a way. I don't have to leave it. I have to leave my wife. We can create the song. We can create the energy of unity from Eretz Yisrael. This is a unique time now for all of you to contribute your energy to the yeshiva, to provide some sort of unique light that you have, your journey has provided, to give to your yeshiva in some way in kindness, either, as I said, a kumzeh, a tuck shop, trips, ideas for the Hanhala to work through concepts. Don't be ashamed, don't be embarrassed, don't be lacking courage. Do what you have to do. As we say every Motzai Shabbos, we say, we sing, we say, Chazak Yametz, Mishalis, Ametz, whatever the rest of the Lashon is, but we say it, yeah? We're giving each other courage to go out and not just pray to Hashem, but to have the courage for the new week. And everyone should have that courage to do kindness, to believe in themselves. Like Avraham Avinu believed in himself. As I said, the Urkastim Rebbe, we can all be Hasidim together. It's a unity experience. And with that light, the idea of Magen Avraham will come to the fact that all the Pasolis will go away, the Ace of the Ishmaelim will all go away, and that you guys are on that level, obviously, to be the Shana Aleph in Eretz Yisrael, to experience a war and be able to sovel it, and not only that, but to be mis'aleh, to grow from it, and with that we'll be able to dance, please God, all of us. Amen. Just like we had a beautiful Kabbalah Shabbos, that's just a taste of what it's going to be like when Avraham Avinu is going to dance with us in the Binyan Beis Hamikdash from Hevi Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Yeah. Two things. First of all, I'm not a public speaker like Eli is. That's number one, so forgive me. Number two, I just wanted to piggyback a little bit what Shlomo said by Sudash Tishi today. You guys have no idea how much chizuk it gives us that the 60 out of the 62 or whatever it is, I think that's what the numbers are. Someone from LA, I forget his name, told me. Only 2 boys went home. I'm not judging anybody. Chas v'shalom. But the fact that 60 of you decided to stay at a time like this, huge ashikoyach, huge chazak baruch to you guys. Mamash. It's a testament to you and to your families that you guys are here. And mamash, you being here gives us more koach. My journey wasn't nearly as exciting as Eli's. My mom's Israeli, my dad was born in Afghanistan. This is not Afghan, this is Moroccan, but we'll get to that. Growing up, my parents, when we drove to shul, and then after shul we went to McDonald's, and my dad made kiddush on the fish until I started going to Yeshivat Day school. Abba, I was told that you can't go into McDonald's. Abba, I was told you can't drive to shul. So whatever, Baruch Hashem, we started keeping Shabbat, keeping kosher. But we were a very modern Orthodox family. I grew up in Jamaica Estates, Queens. And then I went to MTA, and then from MTA I went to BMT where I met Rav Ryan. He was one of the Rebbeim there. And then from there I went to YU. I When I was a senior at YU, my parents decided to move from Queens to the Five Towns. We were there for a while. I got married, lived in North Woodmere. And then my parents decided to move to Florida because my dad wanted to be close to his dad. And my in-laws were from Chicago, and we didn't have family. We had 2 kids. We're either going to Chicago or we're going to Florida. So it was a really easy choice. We went to Florida. Yerida leman aliyah, right? So most kids, most of you, I'm assuming, growing up, went to sleepaway camp in the summers. I came to Israel. I'd say my mom's Israeli, like I said. My grandparents lived in Tel Aviv. We came to Israel for the summer. So making Aliyah has always been something that's been critically important to me. Got married to somebody who it wasn't so critically important to her. But Baruch Hashem, after about 18 years, she came around. We made Aliyah 2 years ago, Baruch Hashem, and we ended up moving straight to Efrat. So people ask, why did you choose Efrat? I'm like, I didn't choose Efrat. Efrat chose me. Like, mamash, it was one of those things where, if you want to look into it on a deeper level, my bar mitzvah parsha is Parshat Vayishlach. Who knows where Efrat's mentioned the first time in the Torah? Parshat Vayishlach. Which aliyah is it in? It's in the 6th. Yeah, I know most of you probably read the entire parsha. I read up until Shishi. So it was like God telling me you're going to read until, and then the rest you're going to finish. I don't know. That was my interpretation. Before we made Aliyah, we were living in a community in Florida called East Boca. I don't know if you guys know it, Rabbi Noah Chleit. It's a Chavetz Chaim community. I dived into the Sephardi shul over there, as you can tell. And the community there was really unbelievable. Tremendous amount of chesed all the time. You know, you had your 7, 8, 9, 10 families that were really like out of control, amazing in terms of what they did for the community. And we were thinking about making Aliyah. We're like, are we going to find that somewhere else? How are we going to find a community that has that? And Baruch Hashem, we found that here. And like Eli was saying, we hosted Eli, and I met Eli because I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, October or November of 2018.
Wow, that long.
He came to Florida. No, it was 19.
19.
Yeah, it was 19. He came to Florida with Rav Shalom Arush, he worked for Chut Shel Chesed, he worked for the organization, and I just started getting into Rav Shalom Arush. I read The Garden of Emunah and The Garden of Peace, and it changed my life, and wonderful. It's like, okay. And I just happened to have been going to Aventura for a Shabbat with my business partner. His father-in-law had an apartment there, so we went, and Rav Shalom happened to have been there that Shabbat, and I met Eli, and we spoke for a little bit, and then after I made Aliyah, they went back on that trip in November of 2021. After we were here for a couple of months, I went back on business, because I have a business in Florida. That's what most of the people here in Frat do. They live here, but they have businesses in the States. He remembered me. He's like, oh my God, so nice to see you. It's like, you live in Boca, right? I'm like, actually, I made Aliyah. He's like, no way, where? I said, I made Aliyah to Efrat. Oh, I love Efrat. I love Rav Shlomo. That's amazing. I want to come spend Shabbat there. I'm like, all right, come. He's like, okay. I'm like, just call me. He never did. So I happened to have been sitting in the high school on the up top, right before Shlomo gave his 8 a.m. shir on Shabbat morning. And one of the people who were in charge of like the housing, you know, a lot of people, as you can imagine, like to come here for Shabbatot because of, you know, the Friday night experience that you guys have had and Be'ezrat Hashem will continue to have. He said, yeah, this guy Eli wants to come for Shabbat. He's got 6 kids. They want to be all together. It's hard to put them all together. It's Corona. So I looked at that individual. I said, wait, Eli Goldsmith? He's like, yeah, you know him? I'm like, yeah, we'll take care of it. So Motzai Shabbat, I spoke to my wife. I said, listen, Eli Goldsmith wants to come, da-da-da. She's like, okay, no problem. Reach out to him. So I reached out to Eli, and I said, Eli, when do you want to come? It's like, next Shabbat. I'm like, wow, okay. I asked my wife. She's like, sure. And that was the beginning of our friendship. And I've just been very, very fortunate to have an Eshet Chayil who loves hosting as well, loves to cook. So we just think it's very important to be able to host individuals, host people in our homes, and kind of give off a little bit of what we can to give Chizik strength. Like Eli said, it's the littlest thing in the world. It could be a smile that you give to an individual. That's the biggest chesed that you can possibly do for that individual at that specific moment. It doesn't have to be this huge, God bless, a huge, grandiose thing in order for you to have it be considered chesed. Now, going back to what Eli was talking about a little bit earlier with Just One Chesed, right? So there's an organization here called Just One Chesed. I don't know if you guys have heard of it or not. Jerry Latinik, who's the CEO of the organization, happens to be my, we're related somehow. His wife and my sister are sisters-in-law. Yes. So when we first got here, my wife was a little bit scared to drive outside of the Gush and go shopping by Rami Levy. So I took her. We went shopping to Rami Levy together. And the first time we were there, a new language, she doesn't really speak Hebrew. I speak a little bit. Shopping took 4.5 hours. Not my strongest suit. I can't do 4.5 hours. So I told her, I'm like, listen, I love you. This is not happening again. I'll drop you off, and I'll just sit at Hummus Eliyahu.
For 4 hours.
Have some hummus, and whatever, just schmooze with anybody that comes by. And I noticed that there were a tremendous amount of chayalim that were coming into the restaurant over the course of the day. So I have a soft spot for our Malachei Shirat. Every time they walked in, I looked at the owner, I'm like, I got it. After like 6 weeks of this, it started getting really expensive. So I tried to open up an amutah, and opening up an amutah here in Israel is a maven yavin. And then I tried to join another amutah, didn't necessarily work out. So then I joined forces with Just One Chesed.
Just for those who don't know, translate amutah.
Amutah is a non-profit organization, I'm sorry. So I joined forces with Jerry Latinik and Just One Chesed, and we started a program called Meals for Heroes, where at Hummus, it started off with Hummus Eliyahu at the Tzomet. That was in February of, it was this year. February of this year, and then in April we did it in Pizzeria Efrat, and then in July we added Katzefet in Har Etzion. Anytime soldiers walk in, they eat for free. But they have to sit down and eat. They can't take it out to go, because then it's just like, it's crazy, because one person comes and takes for their whole gedood, and then we're broke. So that's what we did, and I started working for Just One Chesed, and that turned into now with this milchama. And Just One Chesed does a lot of other amazing things as well. They have a Chesed Depot where individuals donate their used furniture or appliances when they get new ones, and we have our warehouse. We pick it up, we drop it off, and we give it to needy families. The Inbal Hotel called us a couple of months ago. They did a complete renovation to one of their floors. They said, come take everything. So we did, like tables, chairs, desks, mattresses, beds, the whole nine. And literally 2 weeks later, we received a phone call from a kollel in Beersheba telling us, we have the base measures, we have all the sfarim, we have everything, but we don't have tables and chairs. Like, we do. We're coming. So it just, again, the hashgacha that exists when you go do chesed. We say, olam chesed yibaneh, that's really what it is. You guys sit and learn Torah all day, and that's amazing. And that's awesome. And that in and of itself is keneged kulam. But chesed, as well, is one of those things that whatever you can do to help another yid, and it doesn't, again, like I said before, it doesn't have to be a grandiose thing. The smallest little thing, helping someone walk across the street, carrying someone's groceries, whatever it may be, the smallest thing makes the biggest difference in the world. So B'ezrat Hashem, we should all continue to learn all day, and we should continue to do our chasadim, and b'zchut the learning and the chesed that we do, we should, like Eli was saying, we should merit to be dancing with Avram Avinu, with all the Gedolim, all the tzaddikim, everyone in the final Beit HaMikdash b'Yemav Yameinu, Amen.
Amen.
Before we open up for questions for everyone, I'm just going to ask each of them one or two questions just to get a little more information, and then they'll be opened up to the public. So first for you, Eli.
Yes.
Would you please tell everyone about how you work on social media and platforms and how you feel that is a connection to your Avodat Chesed?
Yes, so the online platform began really officially. I was
What's the
known
name of that?
online as the Midnight Rabbi. How that name came about was because I was 5 years on the streets of Yerushalayim helping the at-risk, not wonderful Bochurim and Talmidim like you, but helping the at-risk teenage youth culture, especially Americans and English, who came for their year off. And yeah, exactly. And they were off. And it was very big honor to be with those boys and the shamas. Thank God a lot of them have grown up in a good way. But back then there was, potential drug issues and other kinds of issues. And that was my 5 years of Mesiras Nefesh, because I was up all night, every night, the whole week. And then we'd host 5 or 10 of them every Shabbos in our apartment, a little tiny apartment. It was about 65 meters or something ridiculous with 5-6 kids.
That's smaller than your back.
Yeah. And we'd host everyone in that apartment for a Suda. Somehow they'd fit. And the kids would be jumping on their heads and my heads. And it was Labor times, and I thank Hashem that I had that opportunity. So one of the boys there put me online and called me the Midnight Rabbi, and that name stuck. I also now have a site called Unity Inspires Projects, which goes together with the Unity concept. And the way it works as Chesed is that I'm there for people at all times, all hours. And that means that I've had the merit to help guide boys from potentially marrying out of Judaism, like they were dating Arabs or other kinds of non-Jews, to the point where, thank God, they're now married. I just went this Sukkot night to one of my boys, and he had a beautiful home in Yerushalayim, married to a beautiful Bas Yisrael with a beautiful baby. And years ago, when I was reaching out to him, he was not. So it's tremendous with the growth, and by being there for people, making sure they feel they're not alone. And it really has changed people's lives, that presence that I give them online and in person. And by being online, also, I'm helping to market all the wonderful things. Even the other day when I went out Rav Shlomo, I managed to video. It's just a simple thing with a phone and video Rav Shlomo Katz singing Rav Ganut at the Shiva house, and Menachem Oval there. And even though it wasn't a happy moment, but the video was very powerful and very profound, and Rav Shlomo himself shared it, so I could collaborate with other people and other opportunities. And that's something which is all about unity, us working together to share the light of Am Yisrael to the world.
All right, for you, Yosef. Please share how this war has expanded your chesed from just, sustaining donors and restaurants. How has the war expanded your roles in areas that you're able to contribute?
So just one chesed, when the war happened, just completely, we really stopped at the chesed depot part of things, and the chesed works and the chesed match. And we really just decided that we're going to help whoever needs to be helped, which is primarily the soldiers, and then the displaced families from the south. So we actually purchased, within that first week, 3,800 vests, which 2,700 was given to Misrad HaBitachon and distributed to those on the front lines, and then 1,100 which we distributed to family members and friends on our front lines that we knew. But literally we have Chayalim, policemen, calling us, coming into our new makeshift command center in the Dagan multiple times a day, just getting, whether it's thermals or underwear, socks, shampoo, deodorant, scopes, flashlights, anything from tactical gear or everyday necessities. And then we opened up a distribution center in Ramat Beit Shemesh Daled as well, where people have the amount of chesed and the amount of donations from people around the entire world has been nothing short of inspiring. I mean, we had, I think it was 4 guys that paid for all 3,800 vests, and it was like close to $3 million. And then we've raised an additional $3 million over the past month and we're literally spending $50,000 a day buying things from Shirat and getting things from other places, from the US, whatever it may be, just to be able to help our soldiers and to be able to help those displaced families. It's unbelievable how Am Yisrael comes together in the time of Tzara. And Bezat Hashem, or Baruch Hashem, I should say, that the true spirit of Am Yisrael is what we're seeing now.
If anyone would like to ask questions, raise your hand, call you. Don't be shy.
How do you put your past experience, which were like bad on you? How do you put them in the past?
Say again?
How do you put your bad experiences in the past and not constantly think about them?
Okay, we'll both answer.
Sure, whoever wants to answer.
I think we should both. We both had. He's been in the US, I've in London, and now 25 years or so. I don't even know. Keep going up and down in the Holy Land. It's a very important thing because I think I sort of hinted to it. The answer in when I spoke before, that it's about channeling all those experiences now for good. Because every single experience I had then taught me valuable experience. For example, I'm teaching in B'nai Akiva, the world program now currently, Machon, and they want me to talk about intimacy. So being that that's obviously a difficult subject to discuss in front of young men, and when I'm with the whole organization and the women are there as well, then I have to be even less vocal about it because they prefer not in the mixed setting. But for the boys specifically, they even made a group chat called Intimacy Boys, with a Z, boys, and they made that themselves. Obviously, the subject has to be done sensitively and carefully, but those experiences that I grew up with have given me a sensitivity to understand some of the challenges that young men go through, and that helps me now give them hope that they can get through those challenged times. And even for my own children, it becomes a tool for everything in life. And really, the pain is the biggest teacher. That's what you should realize. The struggles are the biggest lessons, and that's the point which has helped me help so many others. And I thank Hashem for all those moments.
It's easy to have the moon when things are going well. Right? Things are going well, so it's easy, right? Shulchan Aruch says we have to thank the Kodesh Baruch Hu for the bad the way that we think for the good. When we thank for the good. I just think it's important. I think it's important that we just as difficult as it may be, and it is difficult, and it's work, it's avodah. Constantly thanking Kodesh Baruch Hu. I give this example all the time. You have a sheet of paper, a white sheet of paper with 2 black dots on it. What do you see? 2 black dots. What about all the white? Right? I don't know if there's a right answer to the question that you're asking, but I think it's one of those things where, kind of like what Eli was saying, you got to channel whatever it is that you went through, because at the end of the day, whatever it is that you went through, and again, as difficult as a concept as this is, it was for your best. It's Kadosh Baruch Hu did it, and he's kalachum lechanut, right? Channel that and see how, again, sometimes we might see it immediately, and sometimes we won't see it for 30, 40, 50 years, or until soon when Mashiach comes. But at the end of the day, we have to believe and we have to trust that everything that happens is for our best.
Amazing.
Any other questions?
Yeah, what's up with the gown?
Which gown? They're both different.
Thank you for calling it again, not a dress. Take it all the time. So, I was living in Florida. My parents were coming to me for Sukkot. They had friends that were in Florida. They got stuck. They came to us for Sukkot. They were Moroccan. They were supposed to go back to New York. They got stuck. They couldn't, for whatever it may be. When Sukkot was finally over, they were able to go back. They came back to Florida a couple months later. They went to Morocco in between. They went and they bought 2 of these for me as a token of their appreciation for us hosting them for the entire Sukkot. I just happened to have been learning in Chot Shabbat at that specific time, and you're supposed to have a bag at Shabbat. This is my Beged Shabbat. Some people wear a tie. Some people wear a different suit. Some people wear different shoes.
Some people wear a furry hat.
Some people wear a hat with a rabbit on it. But I decided to wear the Jalabiyah as my Beged Shabbat.
Yeah. So you are both, I guess, further along in your chesed journey and have well-established projects and resource pools. What would you say to people who are trying to get involved in running their own chesed things and how to start off? What would you say to them?
Yeah, so I sort of once again hinted at it in my speech about the idea of finding something that you've got talent in and providing it especially now in yeshiva where there's a lot of pressure on the learning, and the learning is obviously the most important, but there's also Ma'aseh Ikka, doing chesed as we're learning here, and it really brings together, it balances out your schedule very much to be involved in chesed, and finding that point of talent, that skill, that unique quality that you have, that no one else has, and to share that with your friends and your community. It might even be something which is a program outside of the yeshiva, like it can be as a part of the yeshiva, but there are many yeshivas that go outside the yeshiva, obviously with security and everything else, and they go to other communities and help the community with their needed chesed projects. That's what I'll give an example. I did a lot of chesed bliana when, I'm saying it because I don't want any iron hara, because, we start saying your own achievements, it should only be for the good. But I, for example, worked with many, when I was in yeshiva, I went out of my schedule at the end of second Seder and went to play with I don't know what they call it now. Down syndrome is not really the nice word. There's a better word nowadays. I'm not up to date. But is there another word?
No, that describes it.
Yeah, okay. It's still accepted. I don't know. There's all this PC stuff.
No, I can tell you the word you're not allowed to say.
Okay, good. Okay, so it was a young man, and I'm telling you that he brought me more joy than I brought him, because we used to play basketball. Obviously, it wasn't the best. And we used to play NBA, but I always let him win. That was the key. And I used to play NBA on, I think on some, I don't know what machine it was back then, computer game. And he came to my wedding, and the joy that he brought to my wedding when he walked in the room and danced with me it was the Shechina Kadosha, everything. It was the highest moment. So by investing in someone who needed that time, and the parents hosted me for Shabbos many times, by giving to someone, you get back a millionfold. So it really is just about finding something unique that you can give. And there are so many chesed opportunities in Eretz Yisrael. It's just using your intelligent Torah mind and talents to do that.
The best advice that I could possibly give you is just start.
Yes.
Pick something that you're passionate about and just start it, whatever it may be, and it'll pick up traction. It'll pick up ground. That's what I did, right? So that's the only way I know, right? Just do.
And how did I get to the Down syndrome kid? I found the right person who's involved in chesed. His name's Rav Yehuda Samit in Or Sameach. But there are other Rabbonim around there who have those kind of connections. And you speak with them, ask them, say, I'm available with this amount a week, and they'll have plenty of opportunities.
Reach out to just one. I'm not even joking. Reach out to just one chesed.
Exactly. Organizations.
We'll find something for you to do.
Obviously, everything with permission. I had a permission. He was a mashgiach of my yeshiva, so I had full permission to do this. So, as I said also in my speech, do it with the rules of yeshiva as well. Shouldn't be the most important thing while you're in yeshiva is the seders of the yeshiva. That's the aleph.
Just one other thing quickly. So with my relation, with the fact that we're feeding and giving so much stuff to the chayalim, even before the war started, during Chol Sukkot, we had a Meals for Heroes Chesed experience where people came in from the States. They were here for Sukkot. They went to Pizzeria Efrat. They actually made the pizzas with their hands, got all dirty, and then we took it to chayalim in the area and we gave it out to them, right? So then when we started doing that, one of the MPs over there is like, well, you guys are doing so much chesed for us, we want to do something for you guys also. How can we help you? So again, pre-war, every Tuesday, it was like 3 Tuesdays I think it was that we had 2 chayalim come work with us at the chesed depot. They came, they helped unload things from a truck, put it into the warehouse, then load the truck, and they go deliver it to needy families. So just start. Mamash, just start, and it'll flow.
Any question? No?
Okay. Wait.
Can I just say one more point?
Yeah, I mean, if there was this, I was going to ask you guys a final question.
Okay, good. Yeah, ask me a final question.
Yeah. So
I'll
I would like
tie it in.
obviously with the Machon, yeah. But I would like for you to share us 2 stories. Okay. One is
One story each, yeah, or 2 each.
2 each. You can 2 each. Depending if you have like one really long story, then whatever. But one is chesed, although it's like feel good. It's obviously Mesirat Nefesh. So one story I would love to hear is how, like a moment where you just felt like the Mesirat Nefesh, where you were like, I don't know if I want to continue going, wherever you pushed through, and how that felt. And the second question is, was there a moment where you did chesed and you were like, this is what I'm meant to be doing? Like this is really what I was put on this world to do. So.
Yeah, so that feeling of clarity that Yaakov's getting us to is really profound. It's energizing. It's like what you felt, I hope, over this Shabbat. That feeling of clarity. You knew you were supposed to be here. Everyone felt that, yeah. Like a certain clarity. This is where I need to be. I don't need to be anywhere else. I hope you felt that. I felt it being with you. So the idea when you get to that point, it's called being in your zone. Have you heard of this concept, being in your zone? Like all the goats. You know what a goat is? The greatest of all time, yeah? Why are they such great people of all time? Because they go into their zone regularly. They figure out how, through the hard work and effort and all the other talents and attributes they have, they get into their zone. So really it is a matter of tuning into that part of your soul that's truly who you are, getting to know yourself. This is a great time of life to get to know yourself. Like you have less economic pressures on you, etc. You really get to figure out and tune into who you are. And one of the things I would say also right now, and this as a chesed aspect, when I know, as a story level, when I'm sharing something and I see that it catches, like people are into it, and it's not just a moment, like example when I speak in front of people or on a Shabbos over here, and there's a moment I'm connecting with someone, it could be one-to-one even, and I'm really connecting to that person or that group of people, or even that on the platform level, it's much less, but everyone has a sphere of influence. Everyone has someone they can influence in a positive way. And that is a very important thing to realize. You have an opinion that matters. Your voice matters. So just to say very quickly, 2 stories. One story is I had the merit to help Nissan Black. Anyone knows Nissan Black? So 2011, I was working with this guy called Shine Poe, who was friends of Puff Daddy, or not so much then, but originally. And he was a very interesting character, Shine Poe, and he had a few friends around him who said there's this new guy in Seattle, check him out, he's becoming Jewish, and he's a legit good rapper, and you'd want to have a connection with him. So I went online and I saw MTV, I saw like the biggest channels, there he is, and he's wearing a talit. I wouldn't check out the song, but it was because it's not so Jewish back then, but he was playing chess with like, it was like Yetzer Tov, Yetzer Hara, like a black version of him, a white version of him, and I don't mean like color, I mean the clothing. And he was sitting there playing chess.
You were racist.
It's just a video. And it really impacted me that there was someone out there who was legit talented but becoming Jewish. So I found him on Facebook, I think, originally, and I messaged him. He still had a Facebook then, you could message him. And he answered and responded. This is 2011. And I then had the merit to be on his journey. Literally from that point onwards, we became very good friends till now. And he, for example, will be doing a Shabbaton in Shirat. In Parshas told us, please God, he'll be doing a concert Motzai Shabbat. If anyone wants to book Nissan, speak to me. That's one of the things I do. But the point is that having his energy, his talent, his story, him and his brother-in-law's story, Yosef as well, how they were both dating 2 sisters who ended up all converting and getting married on the same day and then coming to Eretz Yisrael. And I was the first concert they did in Eretz Yisrael. I had the merit to host them in a yeshiva called Ashrenu, if you know Ashrenu. And just being involved in someone who could be so influential and being part of his career, I even managed him for about a year and a half. and being his manager, running every single aspect of his life at that time, and then passing it on to someone else, but also still being a booking agent, being involved in his inner life, his journey, his business life, his music, the projects. And now, like, it's all at a different level, and he has, thank God, a very good manager, and we're a team, and it's, he's in a different place in a way since 2011, but it's already 2023 already. So it's another, whole different world, and he's becoming a voice with the whole war situation, and being able to just help him empower another person do his purpose in the world. And that's something which my family have always done for the general world. They've managed some of the greatest artists in the world. I'm not going to list them all off, but you can. Our friend here obviously knows a few of them.
Just to clarify, for those who don't know, he's referring to his uncle. He's referring to the Live Aid. If anyone knows what that is.
Yeah, but it's not just that. It's a whole legacy of the music business. Started in the 60s, rock and roll. My family were there. From Pink Floyd to Led Zeppelin to every single act, Queen, to every single rock and roll star. And we were on that whole journey. Till now, my brothers are still in the business, and my father's a chairman. And, they're doing now like whatever the new entertainment is nowadays. And for me to have chosen this path and not just gone the way of my brothers, but still kept connected to the family and to the ability to influence in a positive way, that would be my story with Nissan Black and all the other musicians and artists. For example, I started very much working with Alex Clare. There's also a big light. Also had an amazing journey. And to end off, my second story would be, and this is just important, really important. As much as you have to do chesed, the most important chesed of all is to do chesed to your family. That was one of the reasons why I stopped managing Nissan Black. I went to my Rebbe, the Tolner Rebbe, and I remember this day very well. And I said it's really affecting my shalom bayis because I'm traveling so much, literally half the year on the road at that time. It was like every 2 weeks we were back on another concert or event. And I was crying in front of Rebbe, so I want to help Nissan do his thing, but I also don't want to mess up my marriage. So my Rebbe said, you have to tell him that you're stopping as manager. And that was it. It was a very hard, but this is Das Torah. We listen to our rabbis. And I put my wife first. And that was something my Rebbe consistently told me. And I'll just say this one more point to end off for today. The biggest chesed you can do, other than doing it to make sure you're in the best state of form, is to those closest to you. And my Rebbe told me a very good eitzah, which I've shared with the intimacy boys, which I mentioned before. He said, when you wake up in the morning, and please God, you're all going to find your Bashar, I'll give you a bracha, you'll find your Zivig, Heilige Zivig Rishon, your holy wife, and please God, you'll marry her, and it'll be Shalom Bayis. When you wake up, remember, at this point, when you wake up in the morning, say Moda Ani. Remember this eitzah. When you wake up and she'll be there, please God, just say Moda Ani, not just on your Hashem returning your soul, but also giving you your Eishes Chayil. And that's the first thought you should have, alongside thanking for your neshama, and that will give you the right mindset for the whole day to have an attitude of gratitude. And that really helps everything. And that's my two stories.
I don't know if you guys know who Ari Fold is. Ari Fold said, if life is easy, you're doing it wrong. With anything that you're doing that has Kedusha is going to have its ups and downs, specifically the downs, see how much you really, really want it. So, yeah, there were instances where I was like, am I really, is this really what I need to be doing? But at the end of the day, yes. And I'll share two quick stories. Mainly over the past couple of weeks, because I really don't remember pre-war so much. First time we went to Yeshivat Har Etzion and we dropped off some food for the soldiers. One of them came up and they said, you have no idea what this means to us, that you guys care for us. I simply provided food. That's all I did. We gave him Burger's Bar. Like, these guys are putting their lives on the line for us, and they appreciate the fact, more than you can imagine, the fact that we're giving them Burger's Bar. That's one small little story. Another one is, I went to BMT my year in Israel, like I mentioned before. and Adam Akobis was here. He flew in, he literally came in for 42 hours. This past week, he came in, he went down south, then he went to hospitals. He's like, I need to do something with soldiers. So he called me up. No food, nothing. It's like I need to just converse with Chayalim. So I took him to the Kita Kodanut by Scheinfeld over here in Geffen. Just so he cried to me afterwards, basically just saying, he's like, this right here, right now, this made my trip. Just sit, and Rosh Shlomo mentioned this a bunch of times throughout Shabbat. The chizuk that the soldiers are giving us, because they know the mission. They know this is L'Shem Shamayim. They get it. They understand. They understand that we need to do what we need to do for Kodesh Baruch Hu. And sometimes it seems like it's cruel, but it's the ultimate chesed. So, those are my two stories.
I just want to ask if everyone can have in mind my son, Baruch Yitzchak ben Masha, and all the other soldiers who are currently in Gaza. My oldest son is in that situation, and everyone should just daven, keep praying, keep learning for the school of the soldiers, and realize your kindness, your avoda.
You guys are in the front lines too.
You are bringing the Shmirah just as much as I believe my oldest son is, and I told my sons this as well, my other sons who are here, all of us here, and the intimacy boys, I told them, you work on this aspect of yourself, you're protecting Am Yisrael. It's an honor. Big honor.
Everybody move. Please bring, if you took a chair from the other room, please bring it back to the other room, and then please exit.
It's really special.